China, a pressure cooker on the brink of explosion amidst growing crises. China's vacant homes, enough for every German to have more than one. Netizens on China's property crisis, selling a house feels like shedding blood. U.S. public pensions investing billions in China despite divestment talk. CCP criticized for failing to honor WTO promises, responds amid mockery for being blissfully shameless. It's all covered in today's China Truths. China, a pressure cooker on the brink of explosion amidst growing crises. At the beginning of the lunar year, extensive wildfires broke out across Guizhou, Yunnan, Guangxi, and Sichuan, China. It was noted that local governments were largely inactive, focusing instead on suppressing news and stifling public discourse. An independent media commentator, known as Quantum Leap, interprets these uncommon wildfires as a stark revelation of the dysfunction within local CCP administrations. He attributes the paralysis and loss of control directly to financial insolvency. Without financial resources, administrative funding is halted, with the exception of a few key departments critical for retaining power. Therefore, these widespread fires have laid bare significant vulnerabilities in the local CCP governance, revealing a deep-seated decay. Some observers have remarked that economic collapse has historically been a precursor to the fall of Chinese dynasties. This raises the question, is the CCP on the brink of a deeper economic and perhaps political crisis in the year of the dragon? Pierre-Antoine Donnet, a former editor at Agence France-Presse and an expert on East Asia, explores this question in a recent piece for the French magazine Le Point, which has been summarized by Radio France Internationale. The piece features insights from an anonymous source with high-level connections within the CCP, who conveyed to Donnet that China in the Dragon Year is akin to a ticking time bomb. With Xi Jinping intensifying political purges under the guise of fighting corruption, the crises are only worsening. Xi's autocratic style has led to severe misjudgments, causing a growing loss of confidence among the Chinese populace. The source paints a grim picture of the current climate. Everyone is in danger and has lost trust in each other. In addition to political repression, there are alarming financial woes. The source reveals staggering data: 1/5 of provincial civil servants are now without pay. Although the capital, Beijing, has not yet reached this dire state, the situation in cities like Wenzhou on the coast is particularly grave, with Sichuan facing even more severe challenges. Discussions among top financial leaders have broached the necessity of declaring national bankruptcy, given that China's real economic growth in 2023 was under 3%, significantly lower than the official figure of 5.2%, and a regression to economic conditions not seen since the Cultural Revolution of the 1960s. The source said no one knew how the situation would develop. The informant emphasizes the uncertainty of future developments. Across all levels of society, from street cleaners and taxi drivers to senior officials, everyone is lying flat, marking a level of aimlessness not witnessed in over 3 decades. Additionally, the source shares perspectives that are seldom voiced publicly, noting that despite the pressure cooker environment, there's a general aversion to violence among the populace. Yet, there's also a recognition that China cannot sustain this state indefinitely. A prevailing sentiment is the need to reconnect with the essence of Chinese culture, seeking to reclaim the traditional values obliterated by communist ideology. The source concludes by lamenting that the CCP has sacrificed a generation, estimating that it will take another 2 to 3 decades for China to navigate its way out of the current quandary. China's vacant homes, enough for every German to have more than one. How many vacant homes are in China? A German businessman in China has shed light on a staggering statistic. Jörg Wuttke, the president of the EU Chamber of Commerce in China, recently shared insights with CBS's 60 Minutes on the impact of the COVID pandemic on China's economy and its deep-rooted real estate crisis. Wuttke revealed, with Germany's population of 82 million, everyone could relocate here, and we'd still have 80 to 90 million empty, unfinished apartments. As the real estate boom previously fueled job creation, Chinese banks freely loaned money to developers. However, come 2020, the Chinese government clamped down on these developers, curtailing loans and pushing the major ones into debt, leaving them unable to even afford the removal of construction cranes. CBS's Leslie Stahl recalled that a decade ago, their coverage of China's real estate market showed cities dotted with empty buildings. Fast forward 10 years, those same buildings remain vacant. This ballooning and bursting real estate bubble is at the heart of China's economic troubles. Millions of ordinary Chinese who invested in these unfinished properties are now stuck, with their down payments lost and no hope of seeing their homes completed. Wuk stated, developers owe homebuyers up to $1 trillion. That money's vanished. It's a dramatic situation. He noted that, 10 years ago, Chinese families saved diligently for homes and retirement, locking up 2/3 of their wealth in real estate. Now, the significant loss of family assets is stifling consumer spending and weighing heavily on the economy. Wuk lamented that emptying the pockets of the common people is not a good idea. Furthermore, having spent over 3 decades living and working in China, this German business figure reflecting on the repercussions of China's COVID policies, he recalled not witnessing such upheaval since the Tiananmen Square events of 1989, emphasizing that what the government dislikes most is instability. He now views China as a nation grappling with post-traumatic stress disorder, PTSD. Following the relaxation of pandemic restrictions, he pointed out that approximately 1 billion Chinese were infected between December 2022 and January 2023, and undoubtedly, this led to many deaths. Such circumstances profoundly alter your life perspective. As for business, they anticipated a fresh start. But after just a few weeks of optimism, the economy essentially flatlined. However, Wuk stated that the CCP's leaders have never admitted their errors. It's a regime that doesn't acknowledge its faults. Then, like a tsunami, COVID engulfed the entire nation. Netizens on China's property crisis: selling a house feels like shedding blood. The real estate sector has long been a cornerstone of China's economy. Yet, over the last 2 years, with developers buckling under vast debts, owning property turned into a financial drain. Rapid slashes in home values have pushed homeowners to quickly offload their investments. A Hubei resident shared in a video on the 25th that he finally managed to sell his old house, though the sale price was tough to swallow. Originally listed for 1.4 million yuan, about $194,490, the price nosedived to 870,000 yuan, nearly $121,000, in a bit over a year, marking a 40% drop. He expressed that his heart is truly bleeding right now, the loss is massive. He detailed the challenging ordeal of selling his home after multiple attempts, admitting that the final sale price was way below what he had hoped for, a sight too painful to bear. Similarly, another resident from Hunan reported on the 25th that her home was finally sold, but she described the selling price as painfully low, marking a significant financial loss. She laments that she's essentially bleeding out over this. She recounted buying the property in 2016 and, after adding renovation costs and 7 years of mortgage interest, totaling around $56,000, her total outlay reached $189,000. Between 2018 and 2019, the home's market value could have peaked at $250,000. However, following its listing, it attracted scant interest. After 6 months, urged by their agent to make a quick sale, they slashed the price to $160,000, yet the home still struggled to attract buyers. Offers came in at shocking low levels, with one as low as $70,000, pushing her frustration to the brink. She recalled that she was so angry that she almost exploded. The China real estate downturn hasn't hit rock bottom. Since 2021, over 50 real estate firms in mainland China have defaulted on their debts, including heavyweight players like Evergrande and Country Garden. The real estate market is now not just frequently hitting snags, selling homes has become markedly tougher. In 2023, China witnessed a 6.5% drop in housing sales compared to the previous year. Data from Dongxing Securities, a Chinese investment bank, reveals that December 2023's monthly sales plummeted by 17.1% year-on-year. The pace of investment in new ventures has also decelerated. Investment in property development last year fell by 9.6% compared to the year before. International media reports indicate that this slump in real estate is the longest recorded, with the situation not only persisting but worsening. Alicia Garcia Herrero, Netizens' chief economist for Asia, remarked to the New York Times, "We haven't seen the worst of it yet. There's much more ground to cover." U.S. public pensions investing billions in China despite divestment talk. Efforts by the federal government to clamp down on U.S. investments in China might be threatened by public pension funds investing tens of billions of dollars in the world's second-largest economy. According to recent data from a nonpartisan trade group called Future Union, American public pensions have invested about $68 billion in China over the past 3 years that ended on June 30th, including in sensitive industries. Future Union says California and New York have been the chief contributors to China. The New York State Common Retirement Fund, NYSCRF, dedicated the largest sum of cash of all public pension funds, $8.392 billion. This was followed by the California Public Employees Retirement System and the California State Teachers Retirement System, which parked $7.8 billion and $5.559 billion, respectively. But with scores of state and local public pension funds facing billions of dollars in unfunded liabilities, officials might be desperate to pursue every avenue that could plug their gaping holes. A recent Truth in Accounting study, Financial State of Cities, found that pension debt at the local level totaled nearly $176 billion and that post-employed benefits, particularly healthcare, exceeded $135 billion. It's not only public pension funds that have diversified into China. A broad array of universities and nonprofit organizations have committed funds to Beijing. The University of Michigan, for example, maintains an endowment that has invested $1.6 billion across 83 investments. The University of Texas has put $1.6 billion into 29 investments in China. The University of California invested $1.5 billion in nearly 24 investments. Of the notable foundations with sizable investments in Chinese-related private funds, the MacArthur Foundation, the Carnegie Foundation, and the Andrew W. Mellon Foundation were some of the names to crack the list. The report reads, the U.S. tax code gives special privileges to encourage wealthy individuals and entities to maintain generous giving preferences and risk-taking in return for shielding wealth under legal tax status exemptions. It continues, many of these benevolent institutions' investment decisions have been unprincipled, betraying our country's interest by investing in countries of concern like China. Despite the tough talk of divesting from China, many parties continue to engage in the Chinese market. White House restrictions. This past summer, the current administration issued an executive order prohibiting investment in specific Chinese sectors, particularly its technology industry, which involves artificial intelligence, semiconductors, and quantum computing. The Treasury Department noted that this rulemaking was designed to protect U.S. national security. President Joe Biden's measure is another development in the U.S. China saga. While the White House insists that it intends to maintain a partnership with Beijing, the administration's message is that U.S. capital and expertise can't help China boost its military capabilities. Market observers and policymakers argue that these efforts don't extend far enough. China and the WTO. The House Select Committee on the Chinese Communist Party published a report that states that China's economic model is incompatible with the World Trade Organization, WTO. As a result, the bipartisan report recommended an end to U.S. private equity investments in China, along with accelerated divestments. The report reads, if this cannot be achieved within the confines of the WTO, then a new multilateral effort by like-minded market economies that goes back to first principles is needed. It continues, because the People's Republic of China's state-led economic system is antithetical to the founding principles of the WTO, actions to defend the United States and global economy against PRC economic aggression are consistent with the U.S. commitment to a multilateral trading system based on market-oriented principles. It has been more than 2 decades since China was admitted into the WTO. At first, it was believed that Beijing would maintain and expand its market-oriented reforms. However, Chinese officials have mostly abandoned market principles and abused the WTO system. U.S. officials have said that they are working diligently to press institutions such as the WTO to impose reforms. Appearing at a recent Council on Foreign Relations event, U.S. Trade Representative Katherine Tai revealed that she and her colleagues continue to promote reform campaigns inside the WTO. CCP criticized for failing to honor WTO promises, responds amid mockery for being blissfully shameless. On February 23, the United States Trade Representative, USTR, unveiled the 2023 China WTO Compliance Report, marking a significant critique of China's adherence to its commitments upon joining the World Trade Organization, WTO. The report stated that China failed to fulfill its promises, with U.S. Trade Representative Katherine Tai stated, "It's been 22 years since the CCP joined the WTO, yet it persists in engaging in state-led, non-market economic practices, flouting the norms and principles upheld by the WTO." Tai further elaborated, even more concerning is that the CCP strategies are designed to secure global market dominance for Chinese firms through a range of ever-changing non-market policies and actions targeting specific industries. This report lays out the extensive nature and scope of China's non-market policies and actions and the significant harm they inflict on workers, businesses, and industries not just in the United States but globally. It serves as a clear warning that members of the international trading system must band together to protect our shared interests from these detrimental policies and actions, especially in sectors targeted by China's industrial strategies. In response, China's Commerce Ministry dismissed the allegations on February 26, labeling the report as unfounded and accusing the U.S. of engaging in unilateralism and bullying. They countered by alleging that the U.S. implements discriminatory policies that disrupt global supply chains and harm the multilateral trading system. Interestingly, the China's Commerce Ministry's statement faced criticism from Chinese netizens, who labeled the government's stance as frustrated and shameless. They highlighted a significant gap in compliance, noting that China has fulfilled only 16 out of 45 WTO commitments, barely 35%, contradicting claims of full compliance. The CCP became a member of the World Trade Organization in 2001. The United States and other major Western nations generally contend that in the over 2 decades since joining the WTO, the CCP has consistently failed to fully honor its commitments in several areas. Instead, by leveraging its growing economic size and strength, the CCP has been exploiting loopholes in WTO rules and dispute resolution processes, undermining global trade norms and impairing the WTO's functionality. Western nations, led by the United States, are seeking to overhaul the WTO's rules to check the CCP's ongoing undermining of the organization. Last December, the German Economic Institute, IW, suggested in a report that the EU, in collaboration with African countries, should revamp the WTO's subsidy rules to counteract the CCP's market distortions and diplomatic clout. Let us know your thoughts on today's topic by leaving a comment below. If you found this video helpful, please share it with a friend. It inspires us to continue creating more quality and reliable content. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more interesting insights from China Truths. Thanks for tuning in.